Hey, it's Bill Connolly here. What you're seeing is the sourdough mix that was left over from yesterday. It's covered to basically keep the heat in and keep the bugs out. Now these plastic prongs across there are simply to keep the cloth from sinking down into the mix, and especially if the mix rises, it will come up close to the surface sometimes. Since it sit overnight, you can see there's a little bit of crust around the edges, but hey, that's normal and it will mix back in. Okay, I'm going to be making 2 pancakes, and the mix really is about as minimal as you can get. 1/4 cup of milk and 1 egg. The egg is dropped into the milk and we're ready to mix it. Now we're going to pour the egg and milk mix in. I use Bisquick, but I suppose a person could use flour. It's up to the individual. Okay, I'm adding about 1 cup of Bisquick into the mix, and you can see here that I'm going to mix this very easily because otherwise it floats over the top, so I'm just kind of pushing that down in there. Okay, we're just about completely mixed here, and it's just a little bit thin. I'm adding just a little bit more flour. I want this to get a little bit thicker than what it was. You can see here that the mix is getting thicker and it's going to actually drip off into kind of chunks, and that's what we want. The edges inside the container will always have a little bit of flour and stuff left on the edge, so I just use a spatula and clean around it, and then I just kind of push that off onto the whisk, and then I tap that whisk up and down to get it all mixed in. Okay, this mix will make 2 fairly good sized pancakes, so I use about maybe 3/4 of a cup, and I put it in there, of course, with a spatula. Now, I'm using a induction cooktop, and I've got the temperature set at 320. So I put the pancake mix in there, and as soon as it starts to get a little bubbles and it gets a little browner on the bottom, I'll turn it over. Okay, now I turn the pancake over. If you kind of look at that, you can see that it's kind of raised there on the edges. I'll usually take a spatula and I'll kind of push that down so that it flattens out a little better. Otherwise, it wouldn't cook evenly. Alright, I got 1 more pancake to make, but I'm not going to show that. But you do see now that I have the bowl covered, so it'll remain that way for another 24 hours. That's it. Breakfast is ready. 2 pieces of bacon and a pancake, and I'm ready to go. Alright, the ingredients I used was 1/4 cup of milk, 1 egg, 1 cup of Bisquick, and then I mix it well until that batter thickens up a little bit. Use what you need, and then cover the leftover until the next day, and repeat. The original starter. I used double the recipe for my first start batch. It took about a week for the sourdough to form up good. If it gets kind of a greenish color, start over. Use the dough after about 5 to 7 days of fermenting, but add to it each day based on that original recipe.